Hey, what's up? Jamie Stenhouse here, currently in Indonesia in Bali, and I want to talk to you about beginning with the end in mind and how that concept allowed me to really only work 2 weeks of this entire year while my team pretty much handled it for me. And we still grew, we still took on new sales, we still handled our clients. I was involved for about 2 weeks for the entire year, and all this was from me beginning with the end in mind. So out here while I'm swimming in the morning of early Indonesia, I'm going to walk you through how this concept works, how to apply it to your own company so that maybe you too can take off a whole year if you'd like, or ideally use that time and extra energy and resources to scale your company even further. So let's get into it. Alright, so this topic was kind of taught to me from Tim Ferriss. Idea of beginning with the end in mind. So what happens, they usually begin as a freelancer. They take on 1 to 2 clients they know, could be family friends, could be someone close to them, and they kind of launch. And before too long, the thing starts to grow a life of its own. Clients are coming in, they are demanding customized options. They want this done, that done. And before you know it, gone out of hand, and it's very hard to scale and control because you did not begin with the end in mind. And when you begin with the end in mind, things are very different. Everything's engineered. Like you plan out what type of clients you want, how you want your life to look like, what people you want on your team, how do you want the clients to communicate with you or someone on your team. And this whole idea of beginning with the end in mind is really something I took aboard myself to really test out before I shared it with my clients inside my private program. So I'll give you a little bit of context, then I'll show you how it works. Every year since 2016, I take off about 3 months of each year. And it's always been easier and easier every time I take it off. And the reason for that is because I've hired more people each year. I've really honed in my processes, my protocols. I've optimized my production line. Every 3 months that I take off with each passing year gets easier and easier. And then coming home from my 2018 trip or 2017 trip, I was curious as to, okay, well, could I do 12 months off? And if so, what would that look like? What would have to change? Okay, so this is the seed where things began to happen, where I was like, okay, let me kind of tune up it more and begin even more with the end in mind. So to give you some context to that context, when I first begun my agency, it was a shit show. I think a lot of people can agree that when they launched out their agency, it's absolute chaos, right? When I designed this agency, it kind of grew on its own and grew out of hand. In 2014, I took a moment to really take a break and make sure that my agency was growing into what I would like it to be. And that's when I began to engineer my agency with the end in mind. Like, I didn't want to be in control of all the client work. I didn't want clients to constantly request me for changes. I didn't want to be communicating with clients every single time. I didn't want to be doing the client work or proofing it, right? So I engineered my agency with this in mind, and that allowed me to take off 3 months every single year. Now, fast forward to this last 12 months, right? I knew my agency was capable of allowing me to walk away for 3 months. But then after my last trip in 2018, I decided, okay, well, what would have to happen for me to take off 12 months, right? So then I began to change things up, address certain protocols that still needed my input, really optimize the production line. I looked at where I was still in the communication loop, where I was still in the proofing loop, and I hired people for those positions. I empowered them. I gave them the creative control using set frameworks and creative boundaries as well, so that we're not reliant on the people, but we're reliant on the systems and protocols. So what does this have to do with beginning with the end in mind? Whenever you launch out a company, if it be an agency or a new product or project, what is the goal for that? Besides to make some sales, besides to help your clients, what is the end in mind for you and your life? Do you want something where you have time freedom like this? Or do you want to scale to the moon? And if so, what changes have to happen? Well, maybe you need a different person in play. Maybe you need someone else on your team. Maybe you need to optimize your cash flow. Maybe you need to change your branding, your positioning. maybe you need to hire a handful of people, maybe you need to let some people go, right? And when you begin with the end in mind, as opposed to allowing things to grow out of control organically, you can really engineer your life and your company and your career to how you want it to be. How has that been engineered? Have you been proactive about designing procedures, right? Look at everything along the production line and really get clear on, is this going to be an easy company to scale for me after we pass 10, 20, 30 clients each month? Or is this going to be something that's going to require a lot of my time, and thus will it lower my quality of life? Okay, so you want to begin with the end in mind. Usually that looks like, what does my life want to look like? What type of work do I want to be doing? The essence of today's vlog out here in Indonesia is essentially you want to begin with the end in mind. For myself, this was a little experiment where I was curious to see if I can take off 12 months and only work 2 weeks of those 12 months and allow my team to handle my agency while I'm traveling the world. As crazy as that sounds, it is very possible. It just requires careful planning and being super clear on what is the end goal in mind. For me, it was to take off 12 months and see if that was possible, because I was always taking off 3 months and that was easy. So the next challenge for me was to take off 12 months and see if that was possible, and I proved it is very possible. I mean, I did work 2 weeks of the entire year, so it's not entirely 12 months off, but it's pretty damn close. And I was able to travel around 40-ish different countries, I think it was, over the last 12 months, and it's been pretty good. So now I'm really gearing up for what is the next thing in my company. Where do I want to grow to? And then let's begin with that end goal in mind. Let's begin engineering it. Let's begin creating it rather than allowing it to happen organically. So this year was really a experiment for me to see if I could take off 12 months. So what did I do to engineer my company for this 12-month trip? Now, as I shared before, I had really designed my agency from the first day of its launch to be sold, right? To operate without my input. So I was already halfway there. I was doing 3-month trips every year, each year, and my team was handling it. Things were beginning to get automated and systemized and scaled, and I didn't have to have my input as much anymore. But from taking 3 months off each year to taking 12 months off, that's a big jump, right? That's a 4x jump. So you need to, pretty much 4x what I'm doing in terms of procedures, protocols, all that. But it's not just about hiring more people, about designing more processes. It's about being clear on, okay, what products can we offer that are still profitable, that allow us to grow in how we want to grow, that don't require my personal input, that can be easily systemized, productized, and really help us to hit our objective of me taking off 12 months. Right, so we're not only looking at it from a team point of view, from a cash flow point of view, from a production line protocol point of view, but also from, okay, well, what can we offer our clients that allow us to hit this goal? If it be taking 12 months off for a weird experiment, which is something that I did. What is going to be easy? What will make your life easier in order to hit that objective, right? And begin with the end in mind. So begin offering that. Like, don't offer anything else if it does not support that goal, or if it does not support the end goal in mind, right? So I really engineered and changed everything from the products we were offering to how we accepted payments and sent invoices, to how we handle client communication, to how I outsource to my team, to how my team outsource to each other, to how we design protocols and systems and quality control checklists and everything. So it goes a lot more than just let's hire some people to handle this and design a few procedures for them to operate through. It's really looking at your company as a whole. So you need to look at the whole production line and understand, is this being engineered to support the end in mind? If not, then let's change every aspect. Let's tweak it until it does. See, we're in control of our companies as we are in control of our lives. And if we don't like our companies, or we don't like certain aspects about our companies, then we have the power to change them, just like we do in our lives. And it's not easy. I mean, it took me about 6 to 8 months to really engineer my company where I could take off 12 months, and it works. I mean, it's a pretty good return where I put in about half a year of planning, hiring, designing out procedures, protocols, and I was able to take off 12 months. Pretty good return. And there's no reason for me to actually head home yet. I can keep traveling because the thing is just designed to optimize on its own, to keep operating on its own. Just to hash this again once more, beginning with the end in mind, understanding what needs to be done in order for the end to happen. Sell your company, take 12 months off. What needs to happen? Itemizing those lists, figuring out what needs to happen, writing it down, planning time to execute on it, and getting it done. That's it. That's all it takes, but people don't want to take the first step, beginning with the end in mind. Right? Once you understand that and you understand what you're trying to achieve, itemize what has to happen in order to achieve that, and begin putting yourself in the position to complete those action items. Get up earlier, stay at work later, right? It's not going to be easy, but the payoff will be tremendous if you commit to it. If you commit to beginning the end in mind, to engineering for the end, right? Beginning the end before you've even begun, right? Figuring out where you want to go even before you start. So for example, taking on easier clients or projects that can be duplicated as opposed to these high-end, complicated, customized clients, right? Being able to duplicate the work from client to client and still get good results to fuel more referrals. And then once those referrals come in, how do we handle them, right? Designing with the end in mind, making your life easier, making your team's life easier, and understanding what has to happen for each of those two worlds to collide. So it's really making the whole thing as easy as possible, removing anything that is complicated or customizable or too hard to process or protocol if it doesn't yield a high enough return. So I'm not saying just to do low tier easy client work, I'm saying to do client work that can be duplicatable. So that's it from me out here in Indonesia. I think I've harped on about this quite a lot. I'm gonna go grab some breakfast, and if this sounded interesting to you and you wanna learn more about engineering a company around your life or your life around your company, depending on what you're trying to achieve, I've put a really good training clip in the description of this clip here. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. Any questions, hit me up. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.